Hi, welcome to episode 5 of Ask Thomas George. I'm in the studio today. I've just finished doing the recording session with vocalist Jessica Rose for a project for my man Dimitar of the electro music production group. It's one of his songs. So we're doing a bit of a vocal recording for his tracks, which sounded pretty cool. I'm looking forward to hear the end result once Dimitar's mixed it all. Okay, let's just jump straight in for the questions. The first one is from Ahmed. Please talk about basic requirements for jobs of a recording engineer / sound engineer in the studios, whether they should be certified from professional institutions or not, which DOWs they need, and the salary range, basically. First of all, I'd like to say that big recording studios are becoming a thing of the past. Since affordable DAWs and affordable software at home, a lot of these big studios are closing down. Sure, there's places like Abbey Road in London, but a lot of the studios, there isn't that much business for them. So I wouldn't really just set your heart on working in the studio, because in 10 years' time, there might not be any more studios left. Because a lot of people are just doing it at home. And a lot of people, since pirating and file sharing, there isn't that much of a big industry in actually people buying music. So I wouldn't set all your hopes in just getting a job in the studio. That's going to solve it for you. I'd try and have your finger in several different pies. You need to be able to perform live as well. So maybe DJ, or as a musician, a guitarist or whatnot. Also teaching, try and teach the skills that you know, and also producing. So I wouldn't just, I'm going to be a sound engineer, this is where I'm going to get all my money from. Because a lot of these big studios have already got their engineers. Why would they hire you? Are you really that good? What can you offer? You need to ask yourself that. But if you do want to get a job there, I'd say work for free. You have to ring up the studios or go down to studios, or even better, know someone that already works at one of these studios and just ask if you can help out at any project. Even go make the cups of tea for them or the coffee. Just do anything that they don't want to do just to get your foot in the door. And once you've got your foot in the door, if you're good at what you do, they might ask you for more responsibilities, and eventually they might pay you. But yeah, you're going to have to work for free. Which DAWs, you definitely need to know how to use Pro Tools. You definitely need to know how to use Logic, and the main ones in recording studios. So yeah, get down Pro Tools and Logic. Of course, there's other DAWs you can use, but these are kind of the main ones that you get in recording studios. Do you need to be certified from professional institutes? You can get degrees in like sonic arts or music production. You can get degrees in nowadays, or just straight like musical composition. It's not essential, but it will help you. If you have a musical background, you can hear notes, you know how songs are made, it will definitely help you for being a producer or a sound engineer. And of course, if you just turn up and they say, oh, can you change the compressor, or can you EQ this instrument, you don't know what they're on about, you don't have a clue, it's not going to look good. But if you already know what you're doing, so say you do go to university and you learn how to record, and when you go to one of these studios, they ask you to do something, you already know how to do it, it's going to look a hell of a lot better than if you don't know what they're on about. But the actual piece of paper that says, I've got a degree, look at me, isn't going to make any difference. It's more what you know, who you know, rather than having this little bit of paper that says you can do something. You need to prove that you can do it rather than have a bit of paper saying that you can. Okay, the next question is from Shubham. Okay, basically his question is how to make his song sound better. Okay, first of all, I've had a quick listen through your song, and in parts it's just a little bit too harsh, and there isn't much automation going on. It's very kind of similar all the way through. You need to have more kind of fluctuations of ideas and dynamics. And also there's a lot of instrumentation at parts going through as well. A lot of these big house songs, they've got a big vocal melody or big like synth lead, and that's it. It's the other instruments kind of support this melody. So you need to think about having one instrument rather than having like 7 or 8 different instruments. And you need to think also house music. It's called house because based on the warehouse, because what people listen to when they go to like a big rave or a party. You need to imagine if you're in their shoes, if you're dancing away like crazy, you need a lot of big build-ups and a lot of kind of emotional roller coasters, because these people are there having fun, or they're jumping up and down. So you need a lot of big build-ups, big breakdowns. And automation is an easy way to do that. So automate your filters and your certain pads just to kind of add a bit more like dynamic range and kind of emotion and mood in your music. Yeah, so if I was you, and also have a listen to other artists who do this really well. Maybe someone like Duke Dumont, like why has his songs become so popular? If you listen, a lot of his tunes, there's only really one or two big synth leads in it or vocal melodies, and the rest of the music's really simple. It just supports that. So try and think of, yeah, just think less is more, and think about how you can actually like let the listeners experience your music and why they're experiencing it, rather than just putting in loads of different instruments just for the sake of it. Think if they're dancing, they want to sing along, or it's a Friday or Saturday night and they want to relax and wind, how is your music going to do that? Okay, Jasper. Okay, so he's fairly new to this whole electronic music world. Hi, Jasper. Step-by-step approach, mixing and using plugins. First of all, I'd say you want to use as little plugins as possible. You want to get a good, clear sound from whatever you do. So you want a good preamp and a good microphone if you're using audio. If you're using MIDI, you really need to know how to use your synths. Don't just go through massive and click on the plugins. You want to do it all from scratch and realize what exactly everything does. So therefore, you don't really need any plugins if you know how the synths work properly, because you can, instead of adding on distortion plugin, you can just change the distortion on the synthesizer. So first of all, I'd say get a handful of synthesizers and learn them back to front, so you know exactly what every single dial, every single knob does, and then go through and make your own custom sounds. I wouldn't even bother with plugins straight away. They can, of course, improve certain elements, but you want less is more, really. I think there's a bit of an obsession, especially in the kind of music production like forums and groups, about plugins and gear and effects, when really it's about songwriting and training your ear. People are having big discussions about which speakers to use or which plugins, but if you don't know how to write songs properly, you don't know how music theory works, your ears aren't trained, you can't hear the certain notes, it doesn't matter what speakers you have, it doesn't matter what plugins you have, you need to have good quality music. And I'd say learn about music theory is super, super important. Instead of going through loads of different plugins and trying to get the latest synth, just get what works and go through that. And less is more. Just try and get good quality basic sounds and build around that. And then think about the plugins later on. If you're new to electronic music, I wouldn't even bother thinking about plugins. Just think about songwriting. Okay, Jordan, my man Jordan. Decent analog synthesizers or digital synths? There's a guy called Matthew Bourne, who's just released an album called Moog Memories. Definitely check that out. He uses a couple of old vintage Moog synthesizers, and it's just that. There's no drums, there's no basses, and his whole album is just built around these two synths, and they sound absolutely incredible. So yeah, try and get a really old-fashioned Moog if you can. They are a bit pricey. They're really bulky, but they sound good. A few synths that I've used, digital analog ones, is the Roland SH201, which is pretty good. There's also the Microkorg and the Microkorg XL. I really like this synth for the main reason it's really lightweight. So if you're playing a gig or you're traveling anywhere, you can take that. It also doubles up as a USB controller for the XL anyway. It's got USB in, so you can use it as a MIDI controller for like Logic or Ableton or whatnot. Anything by Atori or Tora, I think they're absolutely incredible. I love those synths, they're amazing. Obviously, stuff like Massive and Sylenth, which are great as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be too obsessed about having too much gear. Just learn one thing and learn it well. Of course, there's stuff like the Roland Juno, which I've had at one point, which are fantastic. But if I was you, Jordan, I'd try and find really old vintage synths, because the newer ones, I don't know, I feel like they've kind of lost a bit of the soul. The really old vintage ones, I love playing an old vintage synth that's all knackered and semi-broken and doing it all up and getting a really nice old school sound. But yeah, I'd have a listen to Matt Bourne's Moog Memories and just have a listen to some of the sounds he creates just from just a handful of sounds, really. But yeah, like I said before, it's more about musicianship and songwriting and musical ability rather than actually what equipment you have. Going back to Matt Bourne, he's like a really talented improviser and composer, and I've had a few lessons from him before. Actually, he knows his chops. He knows how to play like really, really well, And him knowing and understanding musical theory and performance and jazz and other styles of music just means whatever he plays on whatever instrument, it's going to sound good. So I try and get away from this obsession of gear and having the latest this, the latest that, the best plugins, the best software. Because it's all about the hard, kind of steady struggle of learning how to write songs properly, learning what music is, learning what theory is, and how to make catchy melodies, write interesting lyrics, rather than just finding a plugin that's going to solve the solution for you. Because some plugins and some synths are better than others, but at the end of the day, it's down to your ears and it's down to your songwriting, not like what magic trick there is. So yeah, but I guess if you do want the answers to know what synth to use, there is a shop if you're from the UK called Production Rooms, which is like a big shop that's full of all different keyboards, which is really cool as well. There's also Dawson's Music in the UK. It has loads of different synths and keyboards. What I do when I buy a new bit of outboard gear, I go in the shop and I just play around with it all, and I just mess around until I find one that I really like. So if you're not from the UK, try and find an equivalent and just mess around with the gear in the shops. Or there is kind of reviews on YouTube. You can find out who's left the best reviews for what bit of gear, or just post on some of the forums about which bit of equipment. But yeah, the Juno is really nice if you want kind of one keyboard. I'd say have a look at the Roland Juno, which is, yeah, it's nice. But anyway, that's it for today. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you want me to answer a question for episode 6, please leave them in the comments below. I'll catch you next time.